Now imagine this. You're a 20-year-old sergeant in the Army Air Corps in 1942. You're assigned to the 343rd Bomb Squadron deployed in the Mediterranean Theater. That's where Stanley Horine of Los Angeles, California found himself in 1942. He was a tail gunner on a B-24 Liberator. Now the Liberators had a crew of 10 airmen, and Stanley's plane was led by Lieutenant Julian Darlington of Kentucky. So they've been in the theater for a while. Now it's August 1st, 1943. Nazi Germany has some major oil refineries in central Romania. Enter Operation Tidal Wave. The U.S. launches 177 of these B-24 Liberators with a mission to fly almost 1,000 miles to take out these refineries in Romania. Now these planes don't have fighter support. The fighters just can't fly 1,000 miles. So these planes have to fly over the Mediterranean Sea, then over Greece and Yugoslavia and Bulgaria before they even get to Romania. So Operation Tidal Wave. This turned out to be a pretty tragic day for the U.S. Army Air Forces. Of the 177 planes that left that day, 53 of them didn't make it back. So what happens to a crew that gets shot down in one of these planes? Well, if you survive and you happen to be over Romania, you're probably captured and made a prisoner. And of the 538 air crewmen on those 53 planes, 108 were captured and became POWs. Unfortunately, 310 of them did die, but another 82 did find their way into neutral Turkey or into Yugoslavia, where they were sheltered by some anti-Nazis there. Now you gotta realize, getting to a safe haven after your plane's been shot down might not be an easy feat. Depending on where you got shot down, it's likely that you're over the southern Alps and you've got some wooded territory, some hilly territory, and you might be 100 miles or so from the nearest friendly town. So why am I telling you this backstory on a fly tying channel? Because these crewmen had this survival fishing kit with them. Now I picked this one up last year because I heard they had flies in them, and sure enough, they do. Along with some lines and spoons and bait hooks, they did have 8 flies, 2 sizes of 4 different patterns. Now the kits were made by a company called Tracon in Medford, Massachusetts, and I couldn't quite tell what these patterns were. They're just chenille body wet flies, and a couple of them have some duck slips for the wings. So if any of y'all out there know what these patterns are, or if they have names, please let us know in the comments. I'd love to hear it. So before we tie one of these flies, let's get back to our B-24 Liberator story. So Lieutenant Darlington's plane was one of the 53 that were shot down leaving Romania. 4 of his crew did make it into Yugoslavia, but 6 were captured as POWs. And of the 10 on the crew, only 2 of them ultimately survived, Lieutenant Darlington and his tail gunner, Staff Sergeant Stanley Horine. Now, I don't know if anyone on their crew had to use this fishing kit or the flies in it to survive, but you know of the thousands of airmen shot down in World War II, some of them certainly had to. So they get shot down over some rough territory, they're in the woods, they've got a long hike to get to anywhere just to survive. Maybe they stumble across a stream, they pull out their fishing kit, and they're looking at this guy right here. And I think that's pretty cool. I hope you like this one. There you go, in the vise. At least a 60, 70, maybe even 80-year-old fly. In quite good shape because it wasn't an airtight sealed container. It is a little flat. See that right there? Because it's just been kind of compressed for all these years. And what that was, I believe that was a size 8 and probably a 1 extra strong hook. I'm tying it a little smaller. This is a size 10 and a standard thickness hook. And I'm going with this because that's what I've got. And black thread, let's put a base down to about the barb. And the first thing we're going to tie in is that olive chenille at the butt. And it's not very many wraps. I would say probably it looked like it was about 2 wraps. I would say the olive part is maybe 1/3 of the body, and then the red was about 2/3. So let's do a couple of wraps right here. There's 1 full wrap, and then there's a second. Couple of wraps to lock it. Now let's catch in some red. And this is medium chenille, if I did not mention that. You could probably go with a small. I don't think you could fit a large on this size hook, but you could do a small and then just put a couple of layers. And what I'd really like is to have this red just a little bit thicker than the olive. So if I can get a middle wrap on top of a wrap, I'll do it. Might not be possible, but let's see right there. See what I'm talking about? I'm trying to put a wrap right over one of them. Okay, let's catch this off right up here with a couple wraps. All right, now do you see that little fuzz on my thread right there? Did I nick it? I might have, I couldn't tell. If you do that, something like that, and that happens, just spin a few extra wraps until you get past it. Certainly on a wet fly you can get away with that. Now let's put in a hackle. The one on that original was pretty long, just a brown, light brown here. This is a hen. I don't want it terribly long. I think that one was long, probably because that's the quality of the hackle they had way back then. So I'll catch in this feather right back here. Got a little bit of bare stem still showing. I think that's going to be fine. I'm not going to cut that stem off until I get way up front, trying to avoid a little drop down right here. Okay, now let's just wrap this. I'm thinking 4 wraps, if we can get them, will be plenty. And was that 3 or was that 4? I can't remember, but I think it's enough. So let's catch this off right here. I'm going to go ahead and snip this before I try to push these fibers back. What I want to avoid is a big lump right here when I'm tying this wing in. Try to lay this smooth. I'm going to spend a few wraps right here to get these laying back, but also to try to smooth out this area right here, or else I will end up with a big mess when I catch in this white wing, which there's a chance I'll end up with a big mess anyway. Now that original just had 2 slips of duck. Not big and not real high quality. And I couldn't tell, but it looked like he had them splayed out. So I'm going to do the same thing here. And what I'll do, I'll make sure my thread is at the back of my head. I'm going to put these on here and measure the length I want, which is about right there. Now with my material hand, I'm going to pinch these slips and the hook at the same time. Now I'll do a little pinch wrap right up in there and then just try to pull down and then twist up. Before I let go, let's put another wrap up in here. Now I've got 2 wraps on them, and check them to make sure that, you know, they're for the most part in the plane of the hook right there. So I'm going to put a loose wrap right here. Now just some tighter wraps going forward. And now I'm going to have a little bit of a mess after I cut these off, but we'll see. We might be able to still get a clean head. Okay, you can probably burn those and they will melt pretty quickly. Or I think we can just, in this case, we're not going to have to. It's not that huge. So I'm going to take my thread right back up to the eye and then build a ramp back up to bury these white tips. Okay, I think that's going to be fine. Let's get a whip finish on this guy and see if we have any cleanup. I got a couple of crazy hackle fibers there. I can either pluck or snip or just not worry about them. But there it is, a very simple, not much to it, classic old fly that you find in the survival fishing kits from the US military. Pretty neat stuff. So drop a head cement and this guy's ready to fish. So I appreciate you watching, everybody. Y'all take care and we'll see you next time.